Hi, and welcome to Working on Your IT Business Rather Than In It, or 6 Ways to Improve Your Business Through Automation. Hi everyone, this is Doug Plimpton from Karisoft Corporation. And first of all, I want to say thank you very much for attending. We really appreciate your attention and appreciate your being here today. Thank you very much. But before we get started, I do notice that I want to pause for a bit to allow some more late arrivals to check in. So we're going to hold off for a bit. Okay, I think that's enough people to get started. First of all, I do have a lot of good information to get through here on how automation can help you improve your IT services business. So I'm going to move pretty aggressively through the presentation. That said, first of all, I've got some housekeeping items I want to take care of, so I'm going to take a few seconds to do that. First off, by way of orientation, I do want you to recognize you do have some controls that allow you to manipulate the size of your viewing screen, so feel free to use that. Just below that, you'll see a chat room, and that's where you'll find comments, information, questions in particular, input by the other people in the presentation with you. And then just below that, you'll see another field labeled Your Message. That's where you can put in your own questions or comments, and I encourage you to do that. We will be answering questions as we go through in real time. If in the unlikely event that we don't get to everybody's questions, I promise we'll get back to you very shortly afterwards with whatever information you're looking for. So by all means, use that field to put in any questions. I also wanted to kind of set expectations for what we're going to be doing today. And so, as I said, I do have a lot of good information on how you can improve your business with automation, and I'll be providing that. And we'll talk about that in general ways. But we'll also talk in very precise ways about PSA software tools in particular. That's professional services automation, and how that particular kind of automation can really help you ratchet up your business. And even more precisely, we'll talk about IT Pro Dashboard, which is our PSA tool. And so, to really put that bluntly, we will try and sell you something today. And I just want to get that out there. So, and along those lines, as we get near the end of the presentation, I will be giving you the details on the promotion we're running right now, which involves really tremendous savings as well as a lot of stuff that we're just giving away. So I really would encourage you to stay on through that. I'd hate to see you miss out on the savings or the giveaways, so by all means hang on to the end for that. Okay, so that all said, I think that's enough to really get started. So let's get to it. So I've called this first slide Improve or Die, and that may sound a little bit harsh, but we've all been through the last 3 years with the recession, or maybe 5 years, and doing business in what anybody would recognize as a less than ideal business environment. So I think we all recognize that we need to be in a place where we're doing it better than the other guy. But I wanted to put some numbers to that, so I did a little research and I found a survey by Service Leadership where they established that in the IT services space that median margins for service providers range from a little above 6% to over 18.5%. Now I can hear you saying to yourself, man, what I wouldn't give for a 6% margin. I suspect a lot of you are getting by on a good deal less than that. Some of you perhaps even just breaking even on a 0% margin. And as long as you're surviving, I'd say to you that's terrific. We celebrate that. I'm not here to criticize. But I think we'd all agree that if we could find a way to leverage our businesses up to a place where we're generating 16, 17, 18% margins, that we'd all be in a better place. So that kind of opens the question as to how exactly do you do that? Well, Service Leadership asked that question and they discovered this, that mature service providers outperform the medians in general by about 100% or more. So that, I think, begs the next question is, what exactly is a mature IT service provider? Because they are talking about the IT services space specifically here. Let me also clarify, when they say mature, they're not talking about longevity. That doesn't refer to service providers who have been around a long time only. what they're really referring to is a level of management maturity, a capability to embrace technology in creative ways, to harness automation and use it to ratchet up the company's overall efficiency and productivity to produce much higher margins. And so, in short, they discovered that innovation is really the key to that, and so we'll talk about that. That's a theme sort of running through here as well. Another issue we'll talk about that you need to think about is this: best of breed versus what I've called Swiss Army knife. Best of breed, I think, is a term that a lot of people have heard in reference to software. Swiss Army knife, maybe not so much. So let me explain. I had a number of those Swiss Army knives when I was young, and they had a lot of different tools on them, but didn't really do any of those things especially well. And you know, software can be like that too, where maybe you run across a suite application that provides, you know, a broad range of stuff, but doesn't specialize in any one area, so maybe the functionality might be a little thin, the tools might be a little less precise than you'd like, and perhaps you're better off, once you've identified the 2 or 3 or 4 sets of tasks that you need to automate, you might be better off looking at a best of breed for each of those areas, and that might give you better overall service and actually save you money rather than trying to get one solution to do everything. And we would humbly submit that IT Pro Dashboard is the best of breed of professional services automation, and that we can serve as a terrific addition to whatever sets of tools you currently have, as opposed to going the Swiss Army knife route. So we'll talk about that in general as well. But that said, I do want to show you a couple of things real quick along those lines in IT Pro Dashboard. This is the dashboard up here. And the first thing I wanted to show you was called Daily View. This is a very useful management tool in that it shows you what everybody in your company is doing at any given time. So, you know, here are all of your engineers laid out. This is their daily schedule. And these blocks of color represent the tickets that they're working on, and the colors represent the status of those tickets or where they are in those processes. And one thing that you can do in this view very easily, aside from just assessing to make sure that everybody's got something to do, is that you can load balance very easily. So for example, you look at David Burke here, for example, who might call in to say, once I finish this ticket, you know, at 4:30, I have to, you know, my car's broken down, or I've just gotten a call from my wife and my child's sick, or whatever. He's not going to be able to get to this ticket, so somebody else needs to take care of it. And you'll look at my line here, Doug Plimpton, and I've got time this afternoon. So you can just take that ticket and reschedule it very easily and go ahead and do that, and there it is. It belongs to somebody else. So this is a very useful tool for doing that. The other thing I wanted to show you quickly is the knowledge base. The knowledge base is very useful in terms of repurposing information in ways that really ratchet up productivity. So you can put any keyword in there. I've used printer. If I click search, this knowledge base then returns all the tickets in your database where that word printer appears either in the title, in the problem, or in the resolution. And what that enables is, once any of your techs have solved a particular problem regarding a specific technology, whether it's printers or something else, the information, you don't have to go back and re-research that or reinvent that wheel. You retain that information in your knowledge base indefinitely. So this is also very productive. We've got a lot of customers who use that tool really all the time. All right, very good. Let's move on. So you might ask yourself, what's in it for you? What am I actually going to get out of today's session? Very good question, and I'm happy to answer it. So first of all, we'll talk about why you need to automate your business. What can automation do to help you improve your business, mostly financially, but we'll talk about some qualitative issues as well. We're going to give you 6 specific steps you can take to increase your profitability. We'll talk about proven customer retention strategies. This is very important in any effort to ratchet up margin, because as you probably know, any additional revenue you generate from existing customer base will come with a higher margin than acquiring new customers. Acquiring new customers is always more expensive. Not that you shouldn't do it, you need to do that too. But and again, you recognize from the competitive environment that there's always somebody out there trying to take your customers away from you, so you need to take steps to hold on to the ones you already have. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about increasing your staff productivity. Also very important insofar as declining productivity will erode your margins significantly. So you want to take steps to make sure that you can sustain high productivity. And then we'll also talk about reducing stress for you and your staff. Now, you may look at that last one and say, well, gee, that doesn't really belong there. It's not financial. It's kind of qualitative. How do you quantify that? All good points. And in fact, you won't find a stress reduction line item on anybody's financial statements. But I think if you think about it, you'll recognize even intuitively that the less stress you feel, you can make better decisions for how to keep your business going forward. I think you also recognize that your staff, the less stress they feel, they can provide better service to your customers. They can keep their productivity high. And so keeping stress low, choosing to automate in ways that don't create stress for you and your staff is very important. So we'll talk about that as well. Now, the next question you're probably asking yourself is, why us? Why should you listen to us? And that's obviously also a fair question, so let me talk to that. Our founder and CEO, Al Karimi, has more than Karisoft under his belt. He's also managing MIS Alliance, which is also an IT services company. He founded it in 1999, and he's gone from 2 to 45 employees in just 10 years, which is pretty impressive growth. But like you, early on, he found himself kind of struggling with trying to keep control of all of the details associated and the increasing complexity of his business as he added customers and staff. And so he went through a lot of the phases you probably have with spreadsheets and handwritten work orders and QuickBooks plugins and Access databases and all the like. And none of that really gave him the operational control he really needed to be able to drive his business to the next level. So early in 2000, he hired a couple of developers and he designed a system for himself from scratch, exactly the way he wanted it, and that was the seeds of what we now know as IT Pro Dashboard. He's been using it to manage MIS Alliance since 2001. We've been selling it in the marketplace since 2006, so it's a very robust, solid application. It's very stable. It's built on extremely reliable infrastructure. We have over 3,000 users, and they'll all tell you that they've experienced no downtime at all. So that's part of why you should listen to us. Here's a little bit more. Al, I mentioned, our founder and CEO. There he is. And he's got a wealth of technical and managerial expertise, managed at places like BB&N and elsewhere, and also a successful entrepreneur. The list includes MIS, Alliance, and Karisoft, as well as NPC. Very successful at building businesses, and so he understands the challenges that you face as well. Okay. So here's the basic question: why automate? Well, we asked our own customers that question, and consistently, as we do our customer survey every year since 2009, and what they tell us is that after implementing IT Pro Dashboard, they consistently bill 20% more time, even if they continue to work the same hours. I want you to let that idea roll around in your head a little bit. Imagine having 20% more revenue, but not having to work 20% more time to earn it. Now, that's the kind of margin increase, the kind of productivity increase that automating your business can give you. That implementing a tool like IT Pro Dashboard can drive that kind of revenue back into your business. Let's get to it. The 6 steps, how can we help? All right, well, first of all, most important, plug time leakage gaps. Now, I'm sure I don't need to define time leakage for you. The idea that you provide service time to a customer and it doesn't get billed. For example, you've got your guys all lined up. They all head out to the road to provide service to your customers, or maybe they're working in the shop and they're armed with their paper work orders or their spreadsheets or their Outlook calendars or whatever it is they're using. And they go out and they do the service calls. They do 4 or 5 service calls or 6 service calls in the day. They come home at the end of the day, or perhaps at the end of a week, or God forbid, at the end of a month, and they start trying to reconstruct what they did. They're trying to, remember the resolution they were able to achieve for their customers and exactly how long they spent doing that service. They're going to forget stuff. And as they do that, as they report time and they're leaving stuff out, then time that you spent servicing your clients goes unbilled, and that really does major damage to your margins and your productivity. So you want to try and avoid that. Or another example of, say, you yourself or your managers are out on the road doing sales calls or running errands or visiting customer locations, whatever that might look like, and you take a phone call from a customer on your mobile phone. You're on the phone for 20 minutes or whatever, and you either make an appointment to go visit them or you solve the problem over the phone. But then at the end of the day, other things happen. The rest of your day ensues. You're here, you're there. You come to the end of the day and you forget to write that down. And so again, that time never gets billed. We can help. IT Pro Dashboard, a good PSA tool, can help that by giving you and your guys the opportunity to track your service time in real time. So, your guy arrives at a client location, he logs into IT Pro Dashboard, either on a workstation or via a mobile device, and he's able to start that ticket at the moment that he starts the work. He can track his resolution information as he goes, and then stop it when he's done, and in real time he's been able to track that time. And that's far more efficient in two ways. One, it gives you an exact, accurate report on exactly how long he spent on that service call. So that's one thing. You're not dropping any time through the cracks. And second, it takes a lot less time. You can spend 15-20 seconds, and I'll show you in a bit how to do this, 15 or 20 seconds tracking your time using IT Pro Dashboard, as opposed to spending an hour or more reconstructing what you did, either at the end of a day or the end of a week. So that's critical. Okay, number 2, reducing the administrative workload. This is important because every minute that you and your staff spend on administrative work is a minute that you're not billing, or an hour. So it's very important to do this, and I can show you in a little bit how we do this. I've actually got some testimonials that address this point directly. I'll show you those shortly as well. But in particular, IT Pro Dashboard can help with this by automating the invoicing process. So currently, your operation probably looks like this. Your guys go out and they perform the service time. They come back to the office with their written work notes, and they jot down what they did and they hand that to the office staff, or maybe they pop off an email, or perhaps they're entering information into some kind of database, whatever that looks like. The office staff then takes that information and they manually enter that into QuickBooks or whatever you're using to generate invoices to bill your customers. Now, this is wasteful in two ways. For one thing, you've got data being entered multiple times. And of course, every time somebody enters data, you run the risk for it to be entered incorrectly or inaccurately by transposing numbers or whatnot. Or it runs the risk of being corrupted in some other way. So there's that. And the second thing is that it's redundant. So you've got your tech, your service tech, your engineer, entering his information, writing down his information in terms of what he did, and then your office staff does the same thing to create the invoice. IT Pro Dashboard gives you the capacity to have your techs enter that information once, and then that data gets used in different ways to accomplish different goals. One of them is invoicing to your customers without any additional manual intervention. And again, I'll show you a little bit later how this works. But this is very important to try and maintain high levels of margin and productivity. Okay, number 3, streamlining workflow. Streamlining workflow refers to making the information that each of your staff needs to do the jobs they're doing at the moment that they need it, and it makes it available to them then. So, as an example, your guys go out on the road to perform field service, and rather than having to keep track of paper work orders or handwritten notes or call in the office to ask questions about what the tasks they were supposed to accomplish at their 3rd or 4th visit of the day is, they've got all that information available to them on their mobile device. They can look it up in their calendar, or they can look it up by looking at the individual tickets. This applies to the office staff as well, who don't have to You don't have to dig through tons and tons of paperwork or whatnot in order to bill properly, that the client information is all readily available. And this is streamlining workflow. This is also very important. An IT Pro dashboard can make information available to all of your people at their fingertips exactly when they need it, without having to trade a lot of phone calls and whatnot. All right, number 4. Integrate with other business tools. This is critical because this, if you can accomplish this, then you avoid the worst case scenario that happens to companies who automate poorly, which means they end up with their critical business information safely stored in these various data repositories, but it ends up siloed. And so the only way to get information from one place to another is to print out hard copies and do manual data entry, which, as we already talked about, is A, redundant, and B, potentially injects inaccuracies into your entire process. So, you want to make sure that you've got a tool that enables the information to flow seamlessly from your calendar, where you've got really good scheduling information, through the ticketing and tracking solution, where you've got all of your client information interacting with the calendar and the schedule and the tasks that need to be performed. And then that data, on terms of timing and service time, can flow seamlessly into QuickBooks for automated invoicing. And IT Pro Dashboard provides just that kind of platform that enables you to integrate with calendars on the front end, with accounting on the back end, with all of your other business tools to make all of your information flowing seamlessly from one place to another, so it can be accessed in any way you need. That's very important. Number 5, speeding up easy triage and dispatch. These 2 steps, triage and dispatch, are critical because they're the linchpin, if you will, between the moment when your client sends you a request for service and the moment when you can actually get a member of your staff out to the field or in the shop addressing that problem and generating revenue. So, as an example, one of your clients discovers a problem with their network, and so they decide to report that to you as a request for service, and they perhaps they pick up the phone, perhaps they email you, maybe they make a report via the web. However that comes in, that information is now in your hands and the clock is ticking until you can actually get somebody started on addressing that problem. IT Pro Dashboard, a good PSA tool, can speed up that process so that that ticket can get triaged quickly. Somebody can determine its level of urgency, can establish quickly whom among your staff is the best equipped in terms of skill set, in terms of tools, in terms of time to address that problem in an appropriate time frame, and then get that set of tasks presented to that engineer quickly, seamlessly, easily, accurately, and just at the right moment, so that engineer can go ahead and address that problem with that client and provide top-level customer service while generating revenue. IT Pro Dashboard can do that for you, and that's a great way to sustain high levels of margin. Okay, number 6. Decision support for managers. Now this is important. You, as a manager of your business, have a number of different kinds of decisions you need to make every day, from the tactical level decisions about who's going to do what right now and today, to bigger picture, more strategic level decisions regarding what the business is going to look like 5 years down the road. Maybe you're thinking about adding new services. Maybe you've got personnel issues about hiring going on. Maybe you've got an acquisition you're thinking about. Whatever kinds of issues those might be. What you need is a tool like IT Pro Dashboard from which you can extract the kind of actionable, quantifiable data you need to support those decisions in a timely way. And IT Pro Dashboard, through our dashboard tools, through our reporting mechanisms, through all of the tools associated with IT Pro Dashboard, can enable you to package and present that information either to yourself or to your partners in a way that makes it easy to understand exactly what you need to do next. And so that's a critical consideration as well. Okay, so there they are, the 6 steps. Let's move on. Here's one of the testimonials I mentioned. Fran manages the office for an IT service provider customer of ours here in New England. You can actually find the information she gave us on our website at karisoft.com. on the testimonials page, and she did say a lot of things about what we were able to do for her. But in particular, I pulled out this excerpt. From an accounting and bookkeeping perspective, we've been able to help her cut her data entry workload by 30 to 40%. Now that's huge, in that she's then able to reinvest that time in doing other things that she previously didn't have the time to do. And so that's all time that she can then use to manage the business more effectively. Okay. Here's another testimonial. Jack's been with us a long time. He's also on our testimonials page, and you can see that we've helped him eliminate 20 plus hours of manual manipulation that his previous tools had forced on him. This is specifically in the context of managing his contracts, although it could just as easily have been something else. And so these are ways in which we can help our customers and you really ratchet up your productivity. Okay, that all said, I want to show you how we do that with a particular focus on the ease and speed with which you can report your service time. And the first thing I want to show you is this Q ticket or quick ticket button, which enables you to report service time that's already been provided. So you click that button, that opens up this empty screen. You go ahead and you select a client, say that one. You give the ticket a title, which obviously will relate to whatever it is that you were working with them about. In the problem statement, you'll put in some detail around what that was about. Down here in the resolution statement, you're going to say 1, we did this, and 2, we did that, 3, we did this other thing, and 4, we did something else. And having input that information, you then go eyeball the start and stop time here. You may say to yourself, well, this actually took a little bit longer. We concern start and stop time. We click save, and that's done. Now, I wasn't running a stopwatch on that, but I would guess that was about 15 to 20 seconds. And that's all reported. If we go to the tickets window here, you'll see that that ticket now appears as a closed ticket right here, reset passwords for ABC Inc. 9346. And that's ready to be now processed and exported out for billing. Here are some other tickets you might see. This one here, for example, this is an instance in which a client sent us a service request by email. You also find this kind of client request for service here. This came in via the web, whether a web form or perhaps the client portal. But some of your clients, I suspect, prefer to pick up the phone and call you. And in the event that they do that, whoever takes that call will go ahead and click this new ticket button here. And that again opens up this empty ticket screen. So again, you select a client, you give it a title, which is, whatever it is they're talking about. You create a task, and now this ticket's done. That's it. Client, title, task. The only things you need to create, you click save and close, and that ticket is ready to be dispatched, triaged, and dispatched to anyone in your company. So let me do a refresh here, and you'll see that ticket then appears at the top of the queue right there. So that's how easy it is to report those things. It really takes just a couple of seconds, and you've got yourself ready to go. All right. Okay, let's move on. Here's another testimonial. Ruben's an engineer for another customer of ours, and he's also on our testimonials page. But you'll notice here he says, in this excerpt I've pulled out, that compared with the tools they'd used before, he saves about 2 hours a day on administrative tasks. This is another one of those points where I'm going to ask you to let that idea roll around your brain a little bit. 2 hours a day. I don't know how many engineers any of you have, but even if it's just one, if he's got now 2 additional hours per day that he can bill, and let's say you bill out at, just as an example, $100, that's $200 a day of additional revenue. Now that's $1,000 a week. That's over $50,000 a year of additional revenue realized just from implementing IT Pro Dashboard. So this is a tremendous revenue increase from streamlining productivity. That all said, I want to show you specifically what Ruben is talking about. I know Ruben, and he's referring here specifically to the capacity of using a mobile device to report and track his time. So let me show you what that looks like. We call that module of IT Pro Dashboard IT Pro Web. Here I've decided to take some screenshots from my iPhone. So this is what it looks like on an iPhone, and these are my tickets. So in this screen I can click on any of these individual tickets to edit them or to start processing them because I've started work on that ticket. Here's the menu button up here, and I'm going to show you what the main menu looks like in the next slide. Here's the main menu. We just looked at my tickets. We'll take a look at clients a little bit later. Right now I want to show you what new ticket looks like. So here's the new ticket screen. I've selected a client, and right now I'm working on selecting a status. And here are my choices down here. This Office Request for Service, that will create a new Office Request for Service ticket just like the one we just created in the Tickets window that can then be triaged and dispatched to anybody. If I want to track service time I've already provided, I would select this closed ticket, this closed status down here. That creates a ticket just like the Q ticket, the quick ticket button did up here, which, as I said, accounts for time that's already been provided. These other three in the middle relate to service time that I personally will perform, or Ruben in this case will perform at some point in the future. And if I know exactly when that time will be, I select the open status, and when that enables me then to schedule this ticket for 10 a.m. next Wednesday, for example. And I know exactly when I'm going to go into that client and provide that service. If I know that I'll provide the service, or if Ruben knows that he'll provide the service, he's just not sure precisely when, then he would select the assigned status, and that enables Ruben to take responsibility for getting that, for accomplishing that service time, but it leaves open exactly when he'll do it. On the other hand, if he knows that he needs to provide that service immediately and he intends to start working on it right now, he'll select the in progress. So, for example, he's arrived at a customer location to provide service. The client says, Ruben, I'm glad you're here. I know we agreed that you were going to work on this set of tasks over here, but I've got this other stuff I need you to do that's more urgent. Can you do that instead? And Ruben, of course, being a good employee, will say, well, of course I can do that. He then goes onto his phone. He spends 10-15 seconds creating a new ticket for that client. He selects the in-progress status, and the ticket goes into in-progress status right now. And the office then knows within seconds that he has arrived at that client location, and rather than working on the set of tasks that we thought he'd be working on, he's working on something different. And so if that original work needs to be reassigned to somebody else, the office can do that, or leave it with Ruben, who will then perhaps take care of it during that same visit. So this is how easy it is to do these things. Okay, let's take a look at clients. Here's the client list of clients. I'm going to show you detail for ABC Inc. Here's the first page of client detail. You'll notice you've got your contact name and then a phone number. That's active, so you can click on that to dial it. You have an email address, also active, so I can click on that to invoke the email editor. And the address here is active, so that I can click on that to invoke GPS. The next thing I want to show you is this technical notes field, but I've got a better look at it here. A technical notes field we use to store things like IP addresses and passwords. The important thing here is that you carry all that information with you no matter where you go. So you can access via the mobile device, via the workstation. No more do you have to call back to the office to ask about the passwords or get the IP addresses. It's with you all the time. And then finally, here in the client's detail, you've got documents. Now, IT Pro Dashboard enables you to attach file types of any type to a client record or to an individual ticket. And so we're showing you a client record here. So perhaps it might be a Visio diagram of a network. Perhaps it's the scan of a contract. In the case of a ticket, perhaps it's a scan of a sales receipt or something. In any case, you've got access to these actual files. These aren't links. This is the actual file attached to the database. You can go ahead and access that information, again, wherever you are, whenever you need it. Another example of streamlining workflow. Okay, so I've been showing this to you on the iPhone, but IT Pro Web senses what platform you're using it on and presents itself accordingly. So, for example, here's what it looks like on an iPad. This is that same new My Ticket screen we were looking at earlier. These are open tickets. These are closed tickets, and you can see you're getting the list of tickets as well as detail at the same time. Here's the client database. In the same case, you've got the list of clients over here and the client detail with the technical notes and the documents on this side. So again, IT Pro Web will present itself differently depending on what device you use it on. Okay, at this point I'm going to stop and answer some questions before we get too many of them. And here's a good one. What kind of mobile devices do you support? Great question. Thank you very much. Actually, IT Pro Web is browser-based, which makes it platform independent. So I was just showing it to you on an iPhone and an iPad, but I could just as easily have shown it to you on a Droid, or a BlackBerry or some other kind of tablet or some other kind of smartphone. So whatever kind of device you carry, you'll be able to access that information. Great question, though. Thank you. Here's a good one. What MSP platforms do you support? Great question. Thank you for that. I suspect many of you are considering remote monitoring as a new service offering, or perhaps already have an MSP solution in place. So this is important to you, and the answer to the question simply is any. We can integrate with any of those tools, up to and including receiving any alerts that they put out and converting those automatically to tickets in much the same way that emails get converted as well. So you can use any of those. By the way, I do want to remind you that at the end of the presentation, or I should say near the end of the presentation, we will get into the detail on our promotion and the savings and the giveaways that we're doing. So I want to make sure that you stay on for that, because that's definitely going to be worth your while. Oh, here's a good question. How do you compare to your competition? I wondered if we'd get that. And actually, rather than just talk to that, I actually have a slide for it, but it's out of order. Let me show you that. It's down here. Okay, let me go back to there. Okay, so here's the PSA, the Professional Services Automation Marketplace. And the quick, short answer to the question is, we don't really have any real competition. That sounds strange, so let me explain. So here's IT Pro Dashboard, and here's QuickBooks. Now, by putting them together, I don't mean to suggest that they share functionality, because of course QuickBooks is an accounting package and IT Pro Dashboard is ticketing and tracking, PSA. But what I do mean to see, and I also don't mean to suggest that that this represents the very tight, seamless integration between IT Pro Dashboard and QuickBooks that our API, bidirectional API, QuickBooks Exchange, creates. Although that's true. What I'm saying here is that these two applications really share a sort of philosophical approach, if you will, that make them uniquely suited to serve the SMB marketplace in IT services specifically. And in that sense, when you selected QuickBooks to manage your business, you did that because it was simple, it's easy to use, it doesn't involve a really extensive deployment process, and you can get in, get your accounting work done, produce your invoices, and get out quickly and easily, and then get back to managing your business. And so I've put those words here, easy to use, easy to deploy, and intuitive, and I've added a phrase at the end that we talked about earlier, best of breed. So these two are really best of breed for SMBs in the IT services space. Now, you've probably heard of these two solutions. You may also have heard of these two. And they're good products for what they do, but they're kind of broad and a little bit unfocused, if you will, in that they don't specialize in the areas that you actually need automated, which makes them, if you will, a little cumbersome. They do involve extensive training and deployment time and effort. And in short, they're kind of the Swiss Army knife approach that we talked about earlier that maybe doesn't work as quite as well for you. So in conclusion, if you're using QuickBooks, you should use IT Pro Dashboard. So that's the PSA Marketplace. Thank you very much for that question. Great question. All right, let's get back into the slideshow where we were, which is here. And let's get back to that. Okay, and we'll go back to slideshow. Okay, moving on. Here's another testimonial. Sue's a great customer of ours. Her company came to us at the end of their fiscal year, and they implemented IT Pro Dashboard and told us that they, at the same time, were migrating from a legacy accounting package into QuickBooks. And they told us, quite openly, that they expected as a result that their year-end statements would go out late. Because, of course, everybody knows that software implementations and deployments and migrations are slow and painful and run over budget and run behind schedule, right? Everybody knows that. Well, they were quite surprised by what happened because they didn't expect it at all. Because what ended up happening is that we implemented and got them fully deployed in IT Pro Dashboard in a matter of hours. And then we didn't stop there because we knew that wasn't enough. We actually rolled up our sleeves and helped them with the QuickBooks migration as well, with the result that they were able to get out their year-end statements 3 weeks earlier than in any previous year. Now note there, she's not saying 3 weeks earlier than they had hoped, or even 3 weeks earlier than they had feared, but in fact 3 weeks earlier than they had ever been able to do in their previous infrastructure. You can imagine how great that was for her cash flow. So they've been great customers ever since. Now, what I want to do now is demonstrate for you how we do that. And so the first step in exporting tickets out to QuickBooks is what we call ticket review. Ticket review will queue up all of the tickets that are potential export candidates. And this is the one we've been working with, 9346 as closed. Continued tickets will show up here as well. In this screen, you can edit all the elements of this ticket. So I can go in and make changes to the time log if I want. You'll see the gibberish here I typed in when I created this ticket. You'll notice our automated, our built-in spell check has picked out these words as not spelled correctly, so you can use that to make those corrections. The service items are pulled interactively from QuickBooks. This is your list of service items from QuickBooks, so you can make adjustments to that as well. This is important down here. If you've got an inventory item, a part that you sold as part of a service call, you can go ahead and add that, and here's your list of inventory items, whether it was a memory module or perhaps a hard drive. You can go ahead and add that in, and you can see that as you adjust the quantity, IT Pro Dashboard performs the calculations here. And then when you export that ticket, your on-hand inventory of this particular part will get degraded by this number in QuickBooks. So you can use this for real-time inventory control. You can also do that with non-inventory items. Again, this list is interactive with QuickBooks, so if you're doing mailboxes or diagnostics or perhaps server maintenance, once again, if you put in a unit, then IT Pro Dashboard will perform these calculations as well, and that also ends up registering in QuickBooks. But in any case, once you've got this ticket looking the way you want it, you can click Approve to Export, and the ticket disappears from this window. Let me close that. The next step is the billing screen. In the billing screen, we'll actually be able to go ahead and export that ticket out to QuickBooks. So the first thing we need to do is browse to our QuickBooks file, which is this one. I'm going to click Open. And then we'll go to the Export Ticket screen. Here are all the export candidates. This is the one, again, we've been working with, 9346, which I can go ahead and select, or perhaps select all of them. I would then click the Export button, and that data would get swapped out with QuickBooks. Then in QuickBooks, I would go to this drop down here for Invoice for Time and Expenses. That calls up a screen in which all of the clients we have that have unbilled service time get pulled up. We click Create Invoice for that client, and that not only opens an empty invoice, a blank invoice form, it also opens this window here in which all of the unbilled service tickets get called up. So I can go ahead and select all, click OK, and there's my invoice ready to be delivered. So that's literally how long that takes. And again, I didn't run a stopwatch on that, but I suspect we're looking at something like 20 to 30 seconds, as opposed to probably the hours you spent doing this. Previously, this is exactly what Fran Dillon and Sue Bishop were talking about. All right, let's minimize that again. The other thing I wanted to show you very quickly in IT Pro Dashboard is that we've got training videos here under the Help menu, and you can go ahead and click on that, and that'll bring up this page of training video links. You can see that they're organized topically. So if you need more information on billing and invoicing, which is what I just showed you, you can call that up, or perhaps it has to do with editing or creating new tickets. Whatever you need, you'll find that information here. All right, very nice. Let's move on. Here's another customer. Ron's an interesting case in that when he first met us, he did run a trial of IT Pro Dashboard using the hosted version. But when he became a customer, he decided to install it on a server that he manages. So he's using the on-premise version or the installed version very happily for several years. And again, let us know that we were saving him 5 hours a week to reinvest in managing his business. He tends to focus on our marketing and sales activity, but it could just as easily be something else. Now, we've talked a good deal about deployment, so I wanted to give you some detail on what that looks like. The first step is the thin client installation. It's about a 15 to 30 second install. It's only about a 12 meg thin client. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention I'm seeing some downloads take place as we're going through the presentation. I want to thank all those people who've already downloaded IT Pro Dashboard. Thank you very much. We'll be getting in touch with you shortly to continue your process. And in fact, I'm seeing a few more right now, so that's great. Thanks very much. All right, so you should know that these installations are in fact unlimited. So while this license agreement refers to user accounts, each individual user can install the application on as many devices as needed. So the workstation in the office, the work laptop, your home computer, whether that's a workstation or a laptop or both, and access IT Pro Web via as many mobile devices as needed. So you don't have to worry about where you are. You can access IT Pro Dashboard from anywhere. And once you've done that, we would schedule a 1-hour kickoff, and I mean that, just 60 minutes. And in that time, we would integrate with your QuickBooks files. So what that enables is obviously the exporting of tickets, but it also aligns all the data for employees, clients, vendors, inventory items, non-inventory items, and so all of that information would be aligned together and would enable the bidirectional integration between the two applications. The next thing we would do is integrate with your email infrastructure. And this is true whether you're using Exchange and Outlook or something else. And this enables a couple of things. One is the ability of your customers to submit requests for service via email. But it also enables IT Pro Dashboard to communicate information about service tickets to your engineers via email. So for example, once you've triaged a ticket and assigned or scheduled it for a particular engineer, IT Pro Dashboard can then notify that engineer via email, you've got this new ticket, you should go check that out. So we do that. Then we're going to integrate with your calendars. And again, this is true whether you use Outlook or something else. This enables, again, it's bidirectional. So not only does that mean that once you've scheduled a ticket for an engineer, he'll be able to access that in his Outlook calendar on his mobile device, along with all of his other calendar information. But it also means that if he needs to put something into his calendar that impacts his ability to take service calls, like a doctor's appointment or perhaps a parent-teacher conference, then that time will end up showing in IT Pro Dashboard as that tech being unavailable. So what you don't have is the dispatcher ending up back and forth via email with a guy trying to find a time when he's available. The IT Pro Dashboard calendar will show him times when he's free and times when he's not free. So that really speeds up the dispatch process. And also we'll set up texting and SMS. If you want IT Pro Dashboard to communicate with your guys via text message as opposed to email, or perhaps both, we can set that up for you as well. And then finally, we do some training. This all takes place in this 1-hour kickoff. Training is usually train the trainer, because the only thing left at that point is training users. If you want us to train your users for you, we prefer to have them one-on-one in about 20-minute sessions each. But you can do them yourself if you prefer. Training's always free either way, so it's really up to you. Okay, so that's what deployment looks like. Here's monthly pricing on IT Pro Dashboard, but before we even get into these numbers, I want to point out this is before the promotion, so all of these numbers will go down. But there's a couple of things to note here. First is for you to pick out the column that applies to you. So again, this refers to user accounts. If you need only 1, 2, or 3 of them, you look at this column. If you're between 4 and 10, you'd be looking at this column. And then if you're over 10, you're unlimited, you look at this far right column. The other thing to note here is that this is the total monthly fee. This is not per user. So if, for example, you need 5 user accounts today, well, then these numbers stay the same for you until you hire employee number 11. So that's important as well. But having shown you this and having you look at all this, I would now say to you, you can forget it all, because today no one pays list. And the reason for that is twofold. First, we've got today's promotion, which is huge. And then also because of our double guarantee, which is also huge. So let me show that getting bigger. And we'll get into the details of both these things in just a bit. But right now, I want to stop and answer questions again. Okay, here's a good one. What other accounting software do you support? Great question. Thank you very much. And the answer to that question is like the others, any. What I showed you was our API QuickBooks Exchange, which works with QuickBooks. But whether you're using Peachtree or Mass90 or Dynamics, we can automate your invoicing process and give you a level of integration that you don't enjoy currently. So, great question. Thank you very much. Oh, here's one I was hoping I'd get. What about support? That's a great question. Thank you for that. And in fact, I have a slide for that, and it's right here. So, support and training. We do support 4 ways. On the phone at 1-877-Karisoft. by email at support@karisoft.com. We can set up a screen share, and then finally there are the training videos I showed you under the help menu here. But the thing to note about support and training is that it's always free, so by all means, if you have a question, call us, email us, whatever. We'll be always be happy to take care of you, and again, it's always free. Okay, let me get into the detail on the double guarantee. So what it starts with is a 30-day trial in which you can get a full refund. You can cancel for any reason, or actually even for no reason. So that's for the first 30 days in your trial. But we recognize that that's not enough. So we've gone even better than that. And for the first 60 days, so for an additional 30 days, you can get a full refund if any part of our system doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Now, what this means then is that there's absolutely no financial risk for you at all. You can always get your money back no matter what else is going on. For a full 60 days, you either get the value you need out of IT Pro Dashboard or you get your money back, and there's no third choice. So this is really a financial no-brainer here, folks. All right, so I've talked about the promotion throughout. Now it's time to show it to you. Drum roll, please. So here's the deal. You can start using all 5 modules now. All right, so what does that mean? That's IT Pro Dashboard. That's this up here. I showed you that. That's IT Pro Web. I showed you that too on the iPhone and the iPad with the screenshots. It's QuickBooks Exchange, the integration with QuickBooks. I also showed you that. And then it also includes the client portal. I didn't show you that, but I showed, but we talked about it. And email and calendar integration, which I also didn't show you, but we also talked about. All 5 of those modules you can start using now, and you'll pay only for the base module for the next 4 months, which of course means that you'll be getting all 4 of those other modules for free. So, but even that's not enough. So I say, plus, we're going to give away free 1 hour of consultation with Al. As I mentioned at the top, Al is a very successful serial entrepreneur and has a ton of business experience building an IT services business. So whatever issues you're wrestling with currently, whether it has to do with moving your customers from an on-demand break-fix kind of format into some sort of managed services, or maybe it has to do with service offerings, or maybe you've got maybe you're working on an incentive plan for your employees. Whatever issues those are, Al's already been there. He's done that. He's wrestled with those issues. He's had success. He can share that insight with you and help you build your business, and he can start doing that for free. Then we'll also give you, we're still not done, we'll give you a free custom report. Now this I didn't show you. Up here in IT Pro Dashboard under the Reports menu, we've got a variety of bundled reports that will cut and then display your data in a variety of productive ways. But if there's something specific you don't see reflected on any of these lists, well, if you can define it for us, we'll build it for you and it won't cost you anything. So let me put some numbers on this. Here's the current promotion. Before we build this slide, I just want to remind you to check out the column that applies to you. So if you're up to 3 users, 1 to 3, you're going to be looking in this left column. If you're between 4 and 10, you're looking at this middle column. And if you're unlimited or 10 plus, you'll be looking at the far right column. Okay, so here's what we got. We're going to give you a free month of IT Pro Dashboard, which saves you these dollars. We'll give you 4 free months of QuickBooks Exchange. Then you save those dollars. We'll give you 4 free months of IT Pro Web to save those dollars. We'll give you 4 free months of email and calendar integration for those free dollars. And we'll give you 4 free months of the client portal to save those dollars. Now that, just by itself, that's a great deal. But we're not done. We're also going to give you an hour of Al's consultation time. That bills out a $300 value. And we're going to give you a free custom report, another $300 value. If you add all those numbers up, here's what you're going to be saving. From over $1,400 to over $2,600. This is a great deal. And on top of all of that, you still get the double guarantee. So there's no financial risk here at all. You need to access this savings immediately. But for today only, I'm going to make it even better. $99 a month per month for 4 months is all you're going to pay now. It's a very small number, folks. You can do this very easily, but that's only true for today. So take advantage of this now. This is the kind of deal I was talking about earlier. So what does that mean? That means if you bill 1 additional hour of service per month, you've paid for IT Pro Dashboard. So, and any additional hours you bill go directly to your profit. But let's remember, what this really means is that what we're talking about here is ratcheting your company up to these 18+% margins, and that's permanent. That's forever. That never goes away. So remember, that's what you're really fighting for here. That's how you're going to improve your business. So here we are, IT Pro Dashboard, the free trial. You should download it now. I've got my download button up. I'm going to point to it. Go hit the download button, download the software, and we'll talk to you on the other side. And you need to go ahead and download that now to access the deal. And all that leaves for us to say is thank you, and we appreciate your time.